The first thing Sloane forgot to do was pretend she didn't care. That happened about 3 seconds after I told her I was leaving. Her name was Sloane Mercer, and if you asked anyone on the 23rd floor what we were to each other, they would have said work rivals with suspicious chemistry. We weren't enemies exactly. Enemies don't remember how you take your coffee. Enemies don't fix slide 12 at 7:30 at night and leave a note that says, "Try not to embarrass yourself tomorrow." Enemies also don't go quiet in meetings when someone else takes a cheap shot at you. But Sloane and I had our thing. She ran design, I ran strategy, which meant every project became the same fight. She said I used too many words, I said she worshipped white space, and somehow we kept volunteering for the same accounts anyway. Had we met because she killed one of my ideas in front of a client? A week into my first month, I was presenting a positioning draft when Sloane cut in, looked at the screen, and said, "If we use elevated comfort as the line, this campaign will die in a beige room." The client laughed. I wanted the floor to open. After the meeting, I caught up with her and said, "You could have waited until we weren't in front of the people paying us." She kept walking and said, "You could have written something less dead on arrival." That should have been the end of it. Instead, we argued all the way to the elevator, and by the time the doors opened, we were both pretending not to smile. After that, it got worse. Late nights in glass conference rooms, coffee brought without asking. Arguments over decks that sounded suspiciously like flirting if you stood close enough. Sloane never flirted openly. That would have been easier. Instead, she dropped protein bars on my desk when I skipped lunch. She messaged, "Your client is about to ask for revisions they already approved. Breathe or commit murder." She glanced at my tie before a pitch and muttered, "That color makes you look dishonest," before fixing it herself. The firm had been dangling the same promotion in front of both of us for months. Bigger title, bigger clients, same speeches about healthy competition. The truth was, I stopped caring about the promotion around the same time I realized I was building too much of my week around a woman I technically argued with for a living. Then a recruiter called, then another. Then one of them sent me an offer good enough to stop feeling theoretical. Better money, better hours, smaller team. I took the interviews mostly to remind myself I had options. By the time I signed, there was exactly one reaction I couldn't stop thinking about. Not my boss's, not HR's, Sloane's. Which was ridiculous. She was my rival, my daily argument, my favorite problem in expensive shoes. And if I was being honest, the only person in the building whose opinion still had the power to slow me down. So naturally, I picked the worst possible moment to tell her. Quarterly review Thursday. By 8:15, the office was mostly empty, the city outside the windows had gone blue and gold, and I was alone in the war room pretending to care about a deck I no longer planned to present. Sloane walked in holding two coffees. Of course she did. She set one beside my laptop. "You look like a man being slowly outlived by PowerPoint." "That's because I am." She glanced at the screen. "Your closing line is still weak." "That's hurtful." "It's also correct." I picked up the coffee. Black, no sugar, exactly right. She leaned against the glass wall, sleeves pushed up once, hair in the low knot she wore when she'd been here too long. She looked tired around the eyes in a way only someone watching closely would catch. Unfortunately, I had been watching closely for months. "What?" she said. I blinked. What? "You're staring at me like you're either about to ask for help or do something stupid. That feels unfair. That feels accurate." I looked down at the coffee, then back at her. I accepted another offer. No buildup. Straight through the middle of it. Sloane didn't move. For one beat too long, she did absolutely nothing. Then she smiled the way people do when they think they must have misheard something too stupid to be real. "I'm sorry. I got an offer last week," I said. "I signed this morning." The smile vanished. Completely. "You're leaving." I nodded. "For where?" I told her. She laughed once, short and flat. "That place?" Very professional response. "That place recruits like a cult and presents like a TED Talk had a breakdown. They're paying me 40% more." "Fine," she snapped. "Then they're a well-funded cult." I almost laughed. Then I heard her voice properly, not sarcastic, not amused, wounded. She set her coffee down too hard. And when were you planning on mentioning this? I just did. That is not an answer. I found out last week. You signed this morning. Yes. And you're telling me now, at 8:15, in a room with no witnesses and a dead ficus. She looked around once, furious in a way that made no professional sense. Amazing. I leaned back against the table. Sloane. What? You're acting like I announced my death. No, she said. I'm acting like you just told me you're disappearing and expected me to nod like an adult. That landed hard. I looked at her. Really looked at her. The rigid posture, the set jaw. The fact that she had completely forgotten to do the one thing Sloane Mercer always did best, act like nothing mattered more than she wanted it to. She had forgotten to pretend she didn't care. And once I noticed that, I couldn't unnotice anything. The way she always knew when I was close to burning out. The way she got colder whenever someone at work flirted with me. The way every pitch was easier when she was in the room. The way I'd wanted to tell her first before anyone else, like her reaction mattered more than the promotion ever had. Sloane, I said more quietly, why are you so angry? She laughed again, and this time the sound came out wrong. That's your question? It seems relevant. She looked away for 1 second, then back at me. When she spoke again, her voice had changed. Softer, less controlled. You really want to know? She asked. My heartbeat had turned into a management problem. Yeah. She nodded once, almost to herself, then said, I had a whole speech planned for the night you finally got that promotion. I frowned. On what? No sarcasm now, no office voice, just truth. I was going to let you win first, she said quietly. Then I was going to tell you I was tired of competing with you at work, when all I've really wanted for months was an excuse to stop pretending I don't think about you outside of it. The room disappeared. And now, she said, breath unsteady for the first time since I'd known her, you're standing here telling me you took another job and I don't even get to be professional enough to fake not caring. I forgot the coffee in my hand, forgot the deck, forgot the firm. All I could think was that Sloane Mercer, the woman who had spent 2 years hiding behind competence and sarcasm, was standing in front of me with her whole guard down. And I had no safe answer left. Sloane looked like she regretted the truth the second it finished leaving her mouth. Not because she didn't mean it, because now it was in the room and neither of us could shove it back behind sarcasm where we'd both been storing it for months. She looked at me once, then away, jaw tight. You can say something now. I set the coffee down before I dropped it. That speech, I said, sounds like one I would have liked to hear. Her eyes snapped back to mine. That is not a joke I'm making, I added. Good, she said, because I'm not in the mood to survive one. Fair. The city glowed behind the glass walls, half the floor was dark, the war room too bright, the dead ficus somehow still managing to look judgmental. In the middle of all that artificial office light, Sloane Mercer was standing in front of me with her guard down. And the worst part was how little any of it felt impossible once it happened. I exhaled slowly. You want the truth? No, she said. But I'd still like it. That almost made me smile. The truth is, I didn't want to tell you tonight because your reaction was the only one I was actually worried about. She didn't move. Neither did I. I kept going. I told myself that was because you're competitive and terrifying and would make the whole thing sound like a moral failure. A flicker at the corner of her mouth. Reasonable. But that's not why. Sloane's eyes held mine. I glanced down at the deck on the table between us, then back at her. The real reason is that if I'm being honest, this place stopped feeling worth staying for around the same time. I realized you were the only part of it I'd actually miss. That landed. Hard. I saw it in her face before she said anything. The anger loosened first. Then the disbelief. Then something much worse for me. Hope. Sloane, I said, softer now. I've spent a year pretending the best part of my day was winning arguments with you. It wasn't. What was it? The question came out quiet enough that it almost didn't sound like her. You, I said. No build-up, no polish, just true. She looked away for a second like she needed somewhere else to put that, then back at me. That is a very irresponsible thing to say after announcing you're leaving. I know. No, seriously. Timing-wise, this is terrible. I know. And yet, she said, voice thinner now, I still want you to keep talking. That did something permanent to my heartbeat. So I did. I think I kept calling you my rival because it gave me somewhere safe to put all of this. Rivalry is manageable. Chemistry is deniable. Work tension sounds professional enough that you don't have to ask why someone's the first person you look for when you walk into a room. Sloane folded her arms, but there was nothing defensive in it now. Just containment. Like she was trying not to let the whole truth hit her all at once. You could have said something, she murmured. You could have too. I'm not the one who accepted another job. That is, unfortunately, a strong point. She let out one short laugh that immediately broke apart into something softer. I hate that you can still do that. Do what? Make me want to laugh in the middle of a professional collapse. I don't think either of us is being very professional. Clearly. There was a pause, not empty, charged. Then she asked, Are you still going? That was the real question, buried under all the others. I answered it honestly. Yeah. I watched that hurt land and steadied myself before she could retreat behind it. I am, I said, because I need to. This place has been burning me out for months, and if I stay now, it'll be for the wrong reason. Sloane looked down at the table. That's almost unbearably mature. I hate it too. She laughed again, quieter this time. I stepped closer, just enough to make the room feel smaller. But I'm not leaving the city, I said. I'm not vanishing. I'm not even moving farther than 20 minutes away with bad traffic. I held her gaze. So, if the question is whether I still want to see you when this office stops forcing us into the same room, the answer is yes. Very obviously, yes. Her whole expression changed at that. Not dramatically, just enough. The anger went first, then the steel. What was left looked almost unfair on her, open, relieved, still a little disbelieving. You make this sound very simple. It's not simple. No? No. I smiled a little. Simple would have been if one of us had admitted this before you had to watch me accept another offer out of spite and emotional incompetence. That was not why you took the offer. Obviously not. Good. But the emotional incompetence stands. That, she said, Amai is the most accurate thing you've said tonight. I was close enough now to see the exact second she stopped thinking about escape routes and started trusting the moment instead. So, what happens now? She asked. I looked at her, really looked at her, at the woman who had sharpened half my ideas, ruined the other half, and somehow become the first person I wanted to tell when my life changed. Then I said the only answer that felt right. Now I ask you out before one of us turns this into another argument. Sloane blinked. That's your move? It feels overdue. That is annoyingly effective. I've been taking notes. She tilted her head, fighting a smile. On me? Constantly. That one got her, not in some huge dramatic way, just a slight break in the armor. A smile she didn't mean to show and couldn't hold back once it started. Like it nearly wrecked me. So, I said, tomorrow night, dinner, no decks, no client language, no pretending we only like making each other miserable. Sloane studied me for one long second, then she said, That sounds suspiciously like a date. That's because I'm finally trying not to hide behind workplace vocabulary. She nodded once, considering, then stepped in until there was barely any space left between us. Okay, she said softly, but for the record, I was never pretending we only liked making each other miserable. I know that now. Good. That should have been enough. It almost was. Then she looked at my mouth, back at my eyes, and said, You're still leaving the firm? I am. And I'm still angry about your timing. Fair. And I still want to kiss you. That ended the conversation. I touched her waist carefully, giving her plenty of time to change her mind. She didn't. So I kissed her. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't messy. It felt precise somehow, like the exact answer both of us should have given months ago, finally delivered without interruption. When we pulled apart, Sloane stayed close, forehead almost touching mine, and let out a breath that sounded equal parts relief and annoyance. Well, she murmured, that is going to make Monday unbearable. I laughed softly. Only if we let it. Oh, please. Half the floor already thinks we're one dramatic quarter away from a scandal. They're very uncreative. She smiled against my next breath. You're impossible. And yet? That got an eye roll and another kiss, quicker this time, like she was testing whether it still felt as inevitable as the first one. It did. A month later, I was in my new office with better lighting, less jargon, and dramatically less emotional repression per square foot. Sloane still worked on 23. We still argued, though now it was over dinner reservations, and whether I was underdressed for restaurants she picked on purpose. We still brought each other coffee. The only difference was that now she texted me things like,